welcome John Thirkell. I would call you Johnny, but I have so much respect for you. I feel that John is more respectful, don't you think?
Uh, Either way, I've been called much worse. So both of those are well within EEC guidelines, I think.
Right, I think that's good. And also, from the point of view of the northern contingent, I think it's nice,
Yeah,
John.
yeah, why not? It is, yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
There are so many special things about you. You've had an incredible career. You've done all kinds of things that are marvelous. But I want to start out with just talking about um, your very, very first gig.
Good Lord.
Good Lord. You didn't expect that, did you?
No, I didn't.
No.
You do realise I'm very old, Richard, don't you? And my first ever gig was a long time ago. You mean, are you talking about sort of paid or professional or semi-professional or?
You know, as you know, this is Richard Niles here. The only gig I'm talking about is paid. That's a real gig, where money's changed hands. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, my first sort of paid gig was at the rather illustriously named Ayrsham District Coit and Rifle Club, which is in Middlesbrough. Which and I don't know how many of the listeners, stroke viewers, have been to Middlesbrough, but it's a beautiful place, or
Nice.
was once upon a time.
Right.
Anyway,
And what did you get paid?
I think somewhere in the region of about £6 or £7 or something like
Nice.
that. Not
Nice.
very much. It was with a band called the Max Steel Half Dozen, which rather enigmatically there were 8 people in. But there we
I
are.
knew that was going to happen. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a working man's club,
Well,
and
it was a max deal. That was the kind of deal it was. It was a max deal, so you got 8 for 6.
oof, yeah, very good, very
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just read something to my listeners, and just this is your Wikipedia entry, and I just think this one sentence. I don't want to go through all the thousands of people that you've worked with, but I am going to read this one sentence because it's quite an incredible sentence. Through the 1980s and early 1990s, he was on at least one album in the UK charts continuously, without a break, for over 13 years. In 2019, he had 2 consecutive UK #1 singles and was the first person to be inducted into the Musicians Union Hall of Fame. In 2020, he scored his 25th #1 playing on BTS Dynamite. I mean, that's quite a sentence to have in Wikipedia, isn't it?
Look, what intrigues me, Richard, is who writes this stuff. It's fantastic, because actually I've just copied verbatim that from Wikipedia and put it on my website.
Right.
Yeah, look, it's funnily enough, because I knew I was doing this today, Rich. As you know, you and I have been friends for a long time, longer than we care to remember.
Not long enough.
Indeed, indeed. Well, we're working on that.
Yes.
But of those 20, so I just looked up the sort of information, and of those 25 UK and US #1 records, 20% of them were for you.
Wow.
ABC, Swing
Westlife,
Ancestor,
Boyzone,
yeah,
Pet Shop
absolutely.
Boys,
Yeah,
Cher.
Pet Shop Boys, yeah, all of those, yeah, they were all, yeah. So thank you, Richard. I have an opportunity finally, 30 some years later, to publicly thank you for your patronage through the
Well,
years.
thank you. Yes. Well, I can only say that the pleasure was all mine, and any session with John Thirkell on it goes better. If that's
Ah, they really were. I mean, they really were the most marvelous days, ladies and gentlemen. They were heady times, Richard, weren't they? In those back then, it seemed like, I'm in the middle of writing a sort of memoir,
yes,
largely for my grandchildren. I'm not sure whether anybody else
yes,
would be interested
yes,
in it.
yes.
But looking through my diary, there was, it was mad. There was just so much going on. Like in 1 week, you've got Pet Shop Boys Monday morning, Monday afternoon, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Tuesday rehearsal for the Prince's Trust at Wembley. It was just crazy. I mean, I sound like, sorry, I caught myself being or sounding boastful there. I don't mean to be boastful, but what I'm trying to illustrate is that the difference, the stark difference between the London studio scene then in the 80s and
Yes.
90s and now. I mean, now it's quite an event for people
Yes.
to have a session.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I was doing a session every day, every week,
Yeah,
in those days, and as you say, sometimes they were, 10 to 1, 2 to 5, 6 to 9,
yeah.
and then 10 to forever if you were working with somebody like Trevor Horn or somebody like that, who would go
Yes.
on all night. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
Trevor
Well,
Horn.
just for the benefit of your listeners, Richard,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure, I don't know how clued in they are, but there was a period, I would say, for probably at least 10 years where in London, if you were making a pop record and you needed brass and strings and it didn't have Richard Niles arranging it, then he was either on holiday or you couldn't afford him. That was pretty much the top part of it.
right.
Everybody used
Or
Richard.
or you might have gotten. I mean, there were a couple other people who were doing a fine, marvelous, upstanding job, but as long as they were brave, they would hire Richard Niles. As long as they had a sense of humor and wanted something that was fun, then they
Yeah.
would hire me. Yes, and but the thing that I think also is interesting about those days is the fact that today, I mean, I did a session a week and a half ago, my first string session for a couple of years, and it was quite an incredible event. I was in Village Recorders in LA, a fantastic studio,
Mhm.
and everyone felt like it was Christmas time
Yeah.
because there was an actual session of musicians playing together.
That was
Wow.
great.
And me standing there conducting them, I thought, wow, I remember how to do this,
Yeah,
but it used to be a constant thing. And
absolutely.
the difference between you and a lot of other musicians, though, is this. And maybe it's to do with the northern thing, or maybe it's just to do with the way that you were brought up. You were very on top of the business side in terms of how it worked, you know, filling out the forms, keeping the paperwork. Unfortunately, I was not, as you well know, because you've helped me with some of this, I
Mm.
was not on top of that at all. I was just wrapped up in the doing of it and
Yeah.
all the other stuff. And I've learned about this doctrine that a lot of people, it's not just me, but a lot of people didn't get paid for, in those days, for a lot of their early work. In terms of the royalties that musicians get for performance royalties. But
Mm.
there's actually a doctrine in law that says that if you take too long to claim for something, you can't claim for it, which is a terribly unfair
Yeah.
uh, doctrine or of law, but because not everybody is actually a lawyer and not everyone has a business person, especially if you're a working musician. So anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that except to moan a bit, but uh,
Yeah.
but I'm very interested in you talking a little bit about the fact that you also started a very, very successful business or two while you were being a working musician. Can you talk a little bit about those things?
I, yeah, I sort of, I was always aware of this, of the tenuous nature of being of being a musician. It's right. Being a musician's dinosaur shaped, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's thin at one end and at both ends and thick in the middle, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
sooner or later, you're going to get to the tail part.
Yes.
So I was always conscious, really, that there needs to be something else than that I've got up my sleeve, as it were. And so my friend and I, we were asked to record some music for somebody. There was a kind of just a sort of sounded like kind of an album of popular tunes, sort of thing. We recorded that, and we, he asked, "Can we do another one?" And eventually, we'd done a lot of these, and it occurred to me that actually there's some value in this. And so, to cut a long story short, you know, instead of being paid, sort of selling those tracks, we decided to we would license them. So we would keep ownership of the copyright in the master, and we would license it to people. And then next thing we know, we own about 20,000 masters, which we then licensed, and we started representing other people's stuff. And it sort of accidentally transmogrified into a business, which was really super fortunate. And we set up labels and you know, all around the world. I'm sorry, my phone keeps ringing. We set up labels all around the world. We partner with various people. Anyway, and
But
then
how, the interesting thing for me is, of course, it's beautiful that you did all this, but how the hell did you know how to do that? I wouldn't have known. I mean, I knew how to make pancakes, but I wouldn't have known how to do that.
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm an interested sort of a bloke. Do you know what I mean? It drives my wife nuts because I just like to know how everything works, whether it's the coffee machine or whether it is, you know, the business side of music. I'm just interested in how things work. I have an inquisitive sort of mind. And it doesn't take very long to work out who's making the money in these sort of transactions. You know, the guys making the actual music, generally speaking, aren't the people making the money. So I thought, well, okay, I need to try and put a foot in that camp. You know, and so it's. I mean, the great thing about that is I think you can do it. You know, there's a general perception that it's us and them, you know, and the guys, the label people are ripping everybody off and the musicians are getting it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, I'm sure it is like that in some instances, but generally speaking, I think, you know, we have tried you know, to be as honorable and as, you know, straightforward as we can. And I think we are. We're musicians too. So yeah, and over the years we've built that into a business, and there's, I don't know, we've got something like 7,000 albums on iTunes or something around that, and that's sort of my pension, Richard. You know.
Yes, indeed, I'm sure it is, and and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
Um, then now the other side, of course, is that you were not just a studio musician, you were a really incredibly successful studio musician. I'd like you to tell me all of the qualities that a really successful studio musician needs to have.
Look, I think anyway, being a good player, that's just your entry ticket. Okay, that's just that gets you through the door. I think beyond that, it's about so much more than you've got to be able to deliver the goods, of course. But Richard, you've seen yourself. I mean, I've seen guys sitting on a session and the session's not even over and they're writing out their invoice, you know, and that always, you know, I'm sorry, it's generally usually string players, but, and that's always struck me as just, I think, well, just do the job. I mean, at least finish the job first, you know, before you start thinking about charging. And I think you've got to remember that it doesn't matter what the music is, it doesn't matter whether you like the music or you don't like the music. That's not the point. You're not there to like it or dislike it. Okay, you're there to provide what the producer or the arranger wants. And I always use this analogy. You know, if you're walking up the street with a pram, okay, and if somebody came up to you, and I mean, if you look in the pram, you wouldn't say, "Geez, that's an ugly baby."
Of course not.
You just wouldn't. But what you have to remember is when you turn up to do a session, that's somebody's baby. They've put their heart and their soul and everything they have into that,
Exactly.
and you have to treat that with the respect that it deserves. And
Right.
I think so many musicians don't do that. They see it as a job. Right? And
Mm.
if I wanted a job, I'd get a much more regular paid job, you know, than being a
And
musician.
better paid job, yes.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
so So I think that is an important thing. You have to treat people's music with the respect that it deserves, whether you like the music or not.
Indeed, and I mean, part of that is, of course, a lot of the people that I interviewed, especially the people who worked as arrangers, talked about the necessity of diplomacy.
Mm,
You've got to be able to have, I think, for me, an ability to suss out the personalities that you're working with. If you know that you're working for, a brandy swilling, coke sniffing producer who's going to be flying around in a manner which is not conducive to getting practical work done, then you have to think of some way as a musician to get the work done and to figure out what part of the personality that you're dealing with you can do to concentrate his mind on the work. I mean, there's some people are. I mean, I did a session once with Roger Daltrey, I remember, and I was so excited to meet him. And for the entire session, he was sitting in the back of the studio reading literally a comic book, and as surly and depressed and non-responsive as possible. So,
mm.
and I was obviously trying to communicate with him in some way to say, "Are you happy with what's going on?" And I don't know, he might have had some terrible news that morning, and I just, I knew that that's the time to back off. And I
Mhm.
just got on with the job, did it. The producer said thank you, and that was the end of it. But, some people would be not clever
Yeah,
enough to
you got to read the room for
read the room.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and I think also, Richard, being an affable sort of a guy. I mean, you know, people love working with Richard Dales because he's a little bit wacky and a bit sort of weird, and you know what I mean. And he's great fun, and I think that's not unimportant, isn't it? You know what I mean. I think don't be a dick is the watchword. I think
Yes, be a Richard.
yeah, yeah, be a Richard. I think because I get, getting along with people is an important, it's
Yes,
an important thing. People like to work with people that they like.
yes,
And,
that's right. I've
and
always
I
tried
think
to
these
make,
are the indiscern to sort of get back to your question. These are the sort of indiscernible things which I think make the difference.
right.
Like I said, being able to do the job, it just gets you through the door. Beyond that, it's about the way in which you operate, and the respect that you give the job, and the
Indeed.
fact, you and I know, Richard. Remember those early Swing Out Sister sessions? I mean, Breakout was a different one because that was a sort of, you didn't fix that. I think somebody else fixed it, but it was myself and Gary Barnacle and Luke Tunney and Peter Tom. So that wasn't.
Yeah,
But the other sessions for the album, for the other tracks on the album, there were
yeah,
three drummers, weren't there? There was Guy Barker, myself, and John Barclay, I think.
right.
Now, of those three, I'm not the best trumpet player out of those three people. But I asked myself, why was it me that went on to do the touring with the band? And I think it's because I get along with people. There's cracking a joke, there's a wise crack and that sort of stuff. And I think that,
Absolutely.
that carries a
It's
lot of
that,
weight.
but it's more than that because it's kind of. I was talking to Snake about this just now. It's more than that because it's not just being likable and affable. It's that when somebody is with John Thirkell, or indeed a few other people that we could name, you know that you're with somebody who's who wants to make everything right, who really doesn't bring their ego. Quincy Jones has this cliche he says about leaving your ego at the door. I
Mm,
think it's very, you don't leave your personality at the door, you leave your ego at the door.
mm,
And it's realizing that you're doing something to make somebody else feel
yeah,
good, look good, and feel secure. So they know that John Thirkell knows how to do that. They know that if they hire John Thirkell, they've got somebody who's got their back, who's going to support them 100%.
mm,
Whereas if you get somebody who's perhaps like some of the other people you could name, there's a tude, an attitude that is going to be, it's about them, but it isn't about them.
yeah. Yeah.
And even though I bring a hell of a lot of personality to a session, I also am hoping that they will dig what I've written. And if they don't, fine, I'll change it. Bang, done.
Mm.
Cut out bar 32. I went too crazy. Okay.
No, surely not, Richard.
Surely not. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That was, I mean, that was always the thing. You know, you knew when you get up in the morning and you've got a Richard Nile session at 10 o'clock, you better get up early and do an extra bit of warming up because.
That's what everybody has said to me throughout the years. And even I was amazed that when I used to work with Gavin Wright's string section, which was
Mm,
just, a magnificently wonderful experience.
yeah,
Um, all the musicians used to say, "Oh, yours are the only string sessions that we practice before we come in, because we know that we're going to be seeing, if you'll excuse the expression, fly shit, and we better have our chops up." And
yeah,
and
I'm sure.
Gavin would always hire the people who could cut it, because he said, if you're afraid of some 30-second notes, you better not come to this session. Uh, Not which is not to say that I always wrote 30-second notes, but
Not
you
at all.
better be prepared, man.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
any
I think it's more a fear of the unknown than anything else. You know,
Yes,
you don't know
indeed.
what you're going to get. You know,
E-
you could be
exactly.
straight. I mean, it's always going to be musical. We know that, but it might be musical in a crazy bebop sort of
Sick
mental way.
manner. Yes. So let me just, now that you've mentioned the word bebop, I just want to briefly say something that I've told a lot of people about this, and they really don't know it about you. That you played jazz chair in the Buddy Rich band. I want you to just. I mean, that's just such a. That's like being told, "Could you just climb Everest, please?" Yeah, thanks. Every night. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about being on that band, and because the stories about you know Buddy Rich is pretty heavy stories. So tell me
Sure.
something.
Yeah, well, look, it was. I'm not really sure how that happened. I had a sort of a period of jazz, big bandy sort of stuff, and it's not my particular bag. I'm not really sure how that happened, but I happened. Yeah, I mean, it was completely by accident. I was playing Ronnie's with Gil Evans, and the day before, Buddy had sacked the trumpet player on the jazz chair, and a couple of the guys from his band came into Ronnie's, saw me play. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and got offered the job, and it was terrifying, Richard, in every sense of the word. Um, no rehearsal. So do you want to do the band? Yes. Okay. We start tomorrow. First gig is tomorrow. No rehearsal. A book about this thick, but it doesn't really matter. There's no point in looking at it because he just call a tune, whatever tune comes to mind.
Yes.
And so you better have your reading chops there, because that, trust me, Buddy Rich band is not a band where you want to be making mistakes.
Oh
Just isn't.
no.
Yeah. And so
He was legendary for his cutting comments. Did you hear any choice ones while you were there?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, look, I think he would throw drumsticks from time to time. Yeah, I mean, I've dodged a drumstick or two.
Nice.
He was. I think I got away lucky because, and I'm not sure why, whether because I was English or whether because I was just, a sort of temporary 6-week fill-in or something like that. But I never felt the full wrath of his tongue. There were plenty of group bollockings, as it were, to use a technical term.
Yes.
But I never personally got hair drying. But yeah, look, I mean, he was a guy who demanded absolute respect and demanded that people do things his way. There are two ways: his way and the wrong way.
Right.
Um,
Exactly. Precisely.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's some pretty. I hesitate to I
Yeah.
hesitate to go into. There are some pretty grim stories, but
But
having said that, it was an incredible experience. Something I'll I'll always sort of cherish.
yes. Yes.
In a sort of I'm glad that's over sort of a way.
Can you tell the people a little bit about doing the Uptown Funk record? because everybody knows that record, and it's young Johnny on trumpet. So what? Tell me a
Yeah,
little
well,
about
I
this.
mean, there is some contention on that. I know. Yeah,
Oh,
so I got a call from Dave Bishop, a mutual friend of ours, sax player, to say, could I do a session on such and such a date for Mark Ronson? Fine. So I turn up, and the deal was that he'd recorded the horns on Uptown Funk already. He'd done them in New York with a horn section in New York. Wasn't quite happy with them. It didn't sit right. So we re-recorded those. He just quickly played it to us, and I transcribed it very quickly, and then we blew through it. And so yeah, so I mean, it thereafter followed some sort of back and forth where we claim we did it, they claim they did it. In the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I suspect it's an amalgam of both, but
but in that he said that they didn't sit right, there must have been something you noticed about what he noticed that wasn't right. So
not really. No, I mean, you know what? Do you remember? I mean, you and I have both worked with Trevor Horn a lot.
sure,
Okay,
sure,
incredible talent. Really, I mean, a great guy too. Very much lovely guy. But
yeah,
he can be obsessive about tiny little minuscule things, can't he? And I
exactly,
think I think Mark Ronson is the same.
yeah,
There was something. It actually sounded fine to me, and
right.
what we recorded thereafter, we didn't A B them, but it didn't feel any better or worse than what was already down. But there was something in there which Mark, rather like he's something which he I don't know, it's something he
Yeah.
heard which I didn't hear.
But there was also already like a synth part doubling the brass, was there not?
I
Because
yeah,
it
I guess.
sounds to me on the record when I listen to the record that it sounds like a brass section, but it also sounds like underneath it there's this buzzy little synth underneath. Now that may have been the processing that he get put on the brass. I don't know.
It could be. Yeah. It may have been the other brass section. I mean, we don't know. Nobody knows. And in sort of typical fashion,
Yeah, it's lost
when
in
you ask the question, I don't really know. They'll have used a take from here and a take from there and a bit of this and a bit of that and blah blah.
the.
Yeah, but it's a great record to have on your CV. That's for sure.
One of the things that I have done, and certainly in throughout my career, but a little bit more in later life, is try to impart the wisdom of experience on the younger generation. And one of the things that you're doing is the elite music camps, which I think is a fantastic idea.
I'm fortunate enough to find myself owning an old farmhouse in the Sierra Nevada mountains in southern Spain. It's a lovely spot. It's sort of my exit plan, if you like. Those going to be or it will be my retirement place.
Yes, in about 50 years, yes.
Oh, yes, indeed. I mean, and it's a big old place. There's sort of 7 bedrooms and lots of room and a bit of land and what have you. And it was actually Snake Davis and I who Snake is a great teacher. He really is a great teacher. He's just got this. How Zen Snake is. And he sort of passes that on. Really, he's really good. And so we came up with this idea of taking a bunch of students out there, 4 saxes, 4 trumpets, and just having a week of sort of masterclassy type stuff,
Right, right.
How great. And we did that, and it was very successful. And anyway, cut a long story short, I formed Elite Music Camps, and we now run a bass camp with Paul Turner, the bass player of Jamiroquai, Rob Harris, the guitarist from Jamiroquai. We do a guitar camp. We do the horn camps. We can do some drum camps, and this is sort of. I mean, it's a fantastic way to earn a living, really. I'm getting old. I'm getting to the point age-wise where traipsing around Europe on a bus, whilst it's great fun, gets harder work every year. Every time
Sure,
you do it, it gets harder and harder.
sure.
So, for me, the ability to spend a week in my own home, sleeping in my own bed in the sunshine, and I've made some incredible friends. You know, the students, what's great for, I think, for the students is they come and we all live together in the house. So that whatever questions they've got, you know, that comes up at breakfast, or we might be swimming, or it's a week of just full on. The tutors, whether it's myself or Snake or Paul or Rob, we're available all day long, and we hang out and we drink some wine and eat some food, and it's really lovely. And I think it's when you teach somebody, when you give somebody a 1 hour lesson, it's hard, isn't it, Richard? Because you've got to cram in as much as you can, and then they go away and they forget it, and blah, blah, blah.
Indeed. Yeah.
But living together for a week, you're able to reinforce all of those things, and you can afford to sort of approach your teaching in a much more rounded way, rather
Yeah.
than just trying to
Absolutely.
pile a bunch of information on them. You can sit together and work it all out. It's really, really lovely. It's
Yeah.
really lovely.
Well, that's fantastic, and the audience has seen all the links that they can go to if they're interested in that. And they
Yeah,
happen to be living in Europe, which I hope I have lots of European fans of Radio Richard. But
great.
but meanwhile, I'm going to ask you a couple other just funny little questions. First of all, what was the funniest thing that ever happened to you on a session or a gig?
And I'm not funny, but Rich, I know you've done over the years. You've done lots of um, jingles, advertising jingles, and that sort of stuff.
Hell yes.
I've always found that to be the most ridiculous sort of branch of studio playing ever. I mean, it's populated by fools and madmen. And there's a couple of. I remember once. I shan't mention any names. That wouldn't really be fair. But these are people I know you will have worked with, and it's a jingle studio right off of Oxford Street, right? Anyway,
Advision. No.
no. So if I say the name of the studio, then
Oh yeah. Okay.
we'll
Okay.
know.
Fine.
But
I'll respect your anonymity.
indeed, yeah, Chris, he's a lovely guy. He's a lovely guy, really.
Yes, he is.
But very, very successful. Drives a Porsche. Done lots of really high-profile
Right.
advertising stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
proper, and done really, really well. Made lots and lots of money out of this business. And anyway, I get a phone call one day and said, "Hey, John, can you come down to the studio like as soon as possible? I've got this jingle. We're almost finished, and I just need to add some trumpet." So sure, I'll come down there. I can be down there in half an hour. So I whizzed down to the studio, and I get in there, and he said, "Okay, so here's our track." Played me the track, and he said, "This is the sound I'm getting. I want you to replicate as close as you can to this sound." And then he played me another track, another record, and I listened to it, and I said, "No, I can't get that sound." And he said, "Now, come on, don't be daft." So no, really, I can't. I just can't. And he said, "Look, you've done dozens and dozens of jingles for me. Every time you've given me exactly what you want. What do you mean you can't do it? I don't believe it." I said, "I'm telling you, I can't get that sound." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "It's a saxophone." Okay. Yeah,
So,
I mean, Rich, you're familiar. I'm sure you have a load of stories. The other
oh,
one was Benson and Hedges. Do you remember Benson and Hedges cigarettes?
oh, sure.
So they're in a golden packet, right? And so I was at Kick Studios, which was on Greek Street there. Friends of mine, and I was booked to play on a jingle for Benson Hedges. This was back in the days when you could advertise cigarettes on TV. And it was literally 4 notes, very short little thing, literally 4 notes on the trumpet. So, oh, sure, okay, fine. So we run the tape, and I play the 4 notes, and the engineer says, "Okay, great, sounds great." The advertising guy, the with the ponytail, those guys.
Yes. Yeah.
The ad guy says to him, "No, hang on a second. There's just something not quite right about it." "Okay, well, what do you think?" I said, "I can't put my finger on it. I'm not really sure, but just I'm not sure. Can you try something different?" So I'll try it on the flugel. So I played it on the flugel. No, not right. Okay, back to the trumpet. I put the cup mute. No. Tin mute. No. 4 notes. We were there for about an hour playing the 4 notes over and over. And then all of a sudden, The wise, the wise and sage advertising guy says, "I've got it. I know what it is. It's you have you. It's not golden enough." So, at the time I was playing my silver-plated Gets. It's not golden enough. Have you got a golden trumpet? And I said, well, yeah, I have, yeah. But I mean, it's at home. He said, how long will it take to get it? Well, I don't know, a couple of hours or whatever. Honestly, Richard. And so I sat there in the studio with the meter running, my meter, the studio's meter, all those meters running, while they sent a motorbike out to my house to pick up another trumpet. I brought it back. The bike brought it back. I got it out of the box. I played the four notes, and Einstein says, "Perfect. That's exactly it." I played it exactly the same way as the first time
Exactly.
I played
Yeah.
it 3 hours
Well,
previously.
John, because you've told that story, I'm going to tell you my story.
Okay, good.
Because it's in the same area. I once did a jingle where they wanted always look on the bright side of life, but they couldn't afford to buy it from the Monty Python people.
Hmm.
And so I, I knew that Mitch Dalton had played guitar on the original. And of course, I'm quite a guy when it comes to um, transcribing stuff.
Indeed, you are.
Yes, I mean, I can transcribe pretty damn well. So I transcribed the exact thing. Plus, I got a guy who was a friend of mine named John Savannah who does Eric Idle so uncannily perfectly. He used to do it, as a party piece just for fun. And he's, oh, why you say? But it sounded exactly like him. He had it perfect. So now I had it, and then Mitch told me who played on the original. So I had all the same guys, and
Mhm.
there they were, and it was perfect. Then, and I had a great engineer, and he
Yeah,
listened to the original, A beat it, we A beat it. It was exactly the same as the original record.
yeah.
So we gave it to this woman who was the advertising executive. She says, that's just not like it at all. And I said, what? She said, well, it's similar, but quite frankly, you were recommended as somebody who was, pretty professional, and this is just not right. I said, well, look, maybe it's the mix. Let me have another go at it, and I'll do that. So I did another mix, and we really, we went for it seriously. We spent about 3 hours in the studio and it was a short. It was just the
Yeah.
opening part of it. So gave it back to her. No, this is terrible. This is nothing like it. And the singer, she said the singer sounds like some, she just said no. So then we went back and I said, I'll do it again. Now this is all costing me money
Sure.
because she says, I'm not paying another penny for this. I hired you as a professional.
Right.
So then we did it again. And seriously, we A-B'd both tracks. I mean, he did spectrum analyzation of the EQs and of all the stuff that I don't understand. Uh, and we finally got to the thing where it was absolutely perfect. And she said, "No, I just won't take. And I'm not paying you anything. And I've had enough. This is, I'll never work with you again. And I'm telling everyone never to work with you because this is terrible." So I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what. Give me one more go. Just one more chance." So I went in the studio. I edited the original. I took the original master tapes of the original
Okay.
and 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 edited the segment that she wanted, and I
Yeah.
gave it to her.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, I suppose this is usable, but it's still not right." So that's my story. I had to tell you because you told me that story.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is. I'm in that. I've got a lot of friends in that world, and I know a lot of them have to put up with that stuff on a daily basis. And I say, for me, there's not enough money in the world to
Yeah.
to
And
you know, to,
there I think you'll agree there are occasional guys who you work with who are advertising guys who really know what they're talking about. And when they don't like something, they give you a reason. And when they do like, they'll give you a really clear brief. There was a guy called Dave Trott, who's also a great writer and a brilliant guy, very,
Yeah.
very clever. Did you ever work with him?
No, I don't think so. The name doesn't
Oh,
ring a
you
bell.
missed out. He's a great guy to work with, and he really knew what he was saying and what he was doing. And there are guys like that, but man, I would
Yeah.
say 99% of them, it's just a joke. Like we just told some jokes.
We just told some jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are. The funniest thing. I'm trying to think of one that's I could actually tell the story.
It
There's,
doesn't
there's
matter. If they're clean, I'm sure I mean, if they're not clean, you can clean it up.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe okay. First one that springs to mind is I don't know whether you remember a producer called Ian Levine.
Yeah,
So Ian Levine was the sort of the big kind of northern soul producer in the
right,
UK,
right.
and Ian liked his food. He was a big lad, Ian, um, and he would sit all through the session eating chocolate. And anyway, Ian's dog had a chow, a big dog, and we're in the booth and we're playing away, and Ian's sitting there eating his bars of chocolate, and he's giving the dog chocolates, and it was the last thing you're supposed to do with a dog. And all of a sudden, I see Ian and the engineer. They leapt up from their seat and ran out of the studio in the horror. Like, what's happened? What's happened? The dog had taken a shit under the sound desk. It had been fed chocolate, of course. So there was a disastrous occurrence from the dog. And I've never seen a room clear so quickly.
Yeah. And you said,
I'm not sure. Yeah. There we are. I don't know.
and you said, I didn't think
Richard,
it played that badly.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I know some longer stories, but yeah.
Well, that's certainly an aromatic one.
Okay, indeed.
Yes.
If you
Um,
want to end in a longer story, then I can do that now if you
well, sure. If you've got another story that's fun for the people.
want. I was in the BBC Radio Big Band, and it was Paul Morgan's birthday. Fine bass player, upright steam bass player. And we did the morning session. We go to the afternoon session. They go to the tennis club, and most of the guys get absolutely battered. It's Paul's birthday. So they arrive back for the afternoon session 10 minutes late. Okay. And it's a guest conductor who I shan't name any names, but the music he chose was I guess the guys felt it was beneath the BBC Radio Big Band. It was things like Little Brown Jug and kind of Glenn Miller music, and so there was a lot of contention there, and a lot of groaning and moaning, and anyway, eventually, so we do Little Brown Jug, and we play the thing, and then the last chord he puts a substitute chord, a different chord. One of the trumpet players, not me, stand up and said, I've got a wrong note on the last chord. And this guy, Johnny, says, no, I've changed the chord. And he said, no, it's definitely got a wrong note. He said, what have you got? No, that's the right note. I've just changed the chord, but it's wrong. No, it's not wrong, right? I'm the arranger, it's my arrangement, and I've changed the last chord. So, well, it's wrong. No, I'm the arranger. Okay. Anyway, so the whole thing starts to kick off. This particular trumpet player stood up and gets the music and tears it into little shreds. Like they've been to the pub, right? They've spent 2 hours in the pub. They tear the music to shreds, throw it on the floor, and it all kicks off. The producer comes in. There's lots of shouting and you can't blah blah blah. The conductor said, "Look, so it's all well and good you complaining about I wouldn't mind if you were playing it properly, but." You can't even play the boom, 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 bum, 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 bum. That starts at the beginning. You couldn't even get that together. Half of you are so pissed you couldn't even get that together. So the drummer said, okay, you can't come in here and say that. You can't come in here accusing people of being pissed. That's outrageous. You can't do that. Come on, who is it? I said, well, no, come on. You come in here saying people, who is pissed? Name, who is it? And so the conductor just turned and looked at Paul, who was fast asleep, slumped over his bass, snoring away in the middle of all of this stuff. Very funny.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well, that's fantastic.
don't behave like that on sessions, kids.
Yes, yes, indeed. Well, I don't even want to talk about the number of times that I, as an arranger, have had the producer saying, "Wait a minute, there's a wrong note everywhere." And anyway, but we won't get into that. What I do want to do is, John, old chap, would you like to play something for us today?
This is a carbon fiber bell trumpet. So the bell is made of carbon fiber.
Yeah, and it's made.
It's a da Cabo. They're all hand built. Very few of them, I believe. Arturo Sandoval has one, I think.
Right.
I believe, and also a couple of other players whose names I can't remember. But they're quite rare anyway. And this the guys there at Da Cabo very kindly sent this across to me. Despite me, Richard, as you know, I played the same trumpet my entire career.
Indeed.
My 1962 Getson, I played this my whole career.
That's the one I've seen.
Yeah. And I wasn't really in the market for changing, but those kind guys at Da Cabo sent me this, and I've grown to love it. I really like it. It's a lovely sound. It's good.
Well,
so
let's whip it out, big boy.
I'm going to play a lovely little tune. This is a tune, Richard, that I've always loved, and I think it's a massively underrated tune. And I think that's because it comes from a wobbly little, funny little sort of novelty film, Annie Get Your Gun, I think it is, or something. Nice. It's a tune called Secret Love, which is
beautiful.
I mean, it's a lovely tune. Anyway, beautiful. I shall now proceed to mash it to pieces.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Hey.
Beautiful, wonderful, John. And, I might be tempted afterwards to add a little soft chords behind you.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So John, thanks so much for today. This is going to be a real special episode of Radio Richard, and I'm I'm really excited to have people hear this and enjoy it on their times when they're walking the dog and when they're driving to their dentist and all of
Yeah.
those things.
And congratulations, by the way, on your dizzy heights in the charts there. It's
Yes,
fantastic.
I know. It's completely amazing to me. I'm happy about it, and I know that I have this great content, but I'm just shocked. It's funny. I guess I shouldn't be, but I'm surprised when anything I do is successful. It's kind of, luckily I have this great guy, Hugo Caro, who's an Argentinian guy who helps me with the technical side of the website, and for some reason we're doing something right. So please subscribe and all of that stuff. So John, thanks so much, and I look forward to doing all kinds of squishy things with you soon.
Sure. As soon as we can travel, Richard, I'll either come to LA, or you come to London. We make a plan. We do
If you
something
come here, I'm setting up gigs all over the country.
awesome. Count me in.
Fantastic. All right,
Richard, great to talk to you as ever. And yeah, we'll speak in a bit.
we will. Thank you.
Over and out.
Hey, lover. Thinking of getting up close and intimate with your loved one tonight for a bit of romantic fooling around? Forget it, because I'm Richard Niles, and instead of playing Lady Penelope and the Butler, you could be under the covers listening to my podcast, Radio Richard. Intriguing interviews and procreating performances from master musicians like Bob James, Lawrence Juber, Michael Brecker, or Leo Sayer. Hey, if you're not shagged out after that, there's always time for a little bit of fun and games afterwards. Don't miss a moment of the fun. Subscribe to Radio Richard.